Hi, I'm Yannis Roussos, the product manager of the database group, and I'd like to take you through what we're planning to achieve in GitLab 15.2, which is scheduled to be released on July 22nd of 2022. The core theme for 15.2 for the database group is that we're planning to double down on a few select key initiatives for the availability and reliability of GitLab instances. So let me take you through our top priorities. The first one are batch background migrations. This is the new framework that we have introduced for executing very large data updates asynchronously on the background. I'm talking about billions of records at GitLab.com scale. So our long-term plan is to provide a stable, reliable framework for executing the most complex, error-prone database operations. So with the basic port for batch background migrations completed in 15.1, we move our focus in 15.2 to the additional features required to support all types of background migrations and make the framework more stable. So our top priority is improving the batch handling, which will allow us to execute even more types of background migrations with different types of filtering, as well as a few stability improvements. Our second top priority is the throttling mechanism for large data changes. So what are we doing in this initiative? We are implementing a generic throttling mechanism for large data changes that will allow us to monitor production database clusters for various signals, leading indicators, and react in real time to problems by throttling or even pausing the execution of the updates. We consider this initiative as a critical update for preventing high severity incidents on production databases and production systems in general. Our final priority is the peculiar issue we have found with the database load balancer at GitLab. So we have found that sometimes on a very specific edge case scenarios, we may have queries leaking across transaction boundaries. What does that mean? So assume that you have a transaction has a lot of writes or updates on the database, and at some point you have an error due to an idling transaction timeout. That's a very special case. That means that for whatever reason we are executing updates, and at some point the transaction stays idle for 15 seconds, let's say by default on most systems. So in this case, for example, we can see that we do a write, then we sleep, and we have set for this demo, the idling transaction timeout 1 second. At that point, you have an error. The transaction is rolled back, but because this error is an idling transaction, our load balancer catches that error and retries the rest of the transaction. And the most important thing is that it retries it on a new connection. So in summary, at a very high level, on those very special conditions, you may have a few writes that are properly rolled back, and then having an idling transaction timeout, and then we may retry, and if the retry succeeds, we may have a write that follows writes that have been rolled back are not anymore there, so leaving the database at an inconsistent state. This is a very rare scenario. It happens very few times, even on GitLab.com. I'm not sure even if it happens on other systems. So in 15.1, we have added logging for those types of events. And you can see that in a system like GitLab.com, we have very few occurrences of this problem. So in 15.2, we want to validate that our assumption is correct, analyze the data we have gathered for the past few weeks, and then apply the fix that we assume we mitigate this problem, and keep on monitoring and make sure that this does not happen anymore. That's it for 15.2. Thank you for watching, and talk to you next milestone.